Welcome to My Daily Thread. It's a great little place to get a snippet of wisdom from the yoga and the meditation masters to start or to end your day. I'm Jeff Lichty. All right, everyone, welcome back to the show, My Daily Thread, looking for that wisdom. We are on chapter 2, verse 31. We finished that actually yesterday, and we were talking about jati desha kala samayana vachena sārvabhauma mahāvratam. Remember, mahāvratam, that's the idea of the yamas being these great vows. Edwin Bryant in his sutra book, I find it great, his writing on this. He's talking about how Patanjali is being conspicuously emphatic here. I thought that was really good and uncharacteristically emphatic here. And he's just saying that mahāvratam, they're great vows, they're sārvabhauma, they're universal. And basically, you can't get out of doing these mahāvratam. The idea, if you're going to do yoga, you really have to take a really, really strong look at the yamas and see how you can fit them into your life in order to make that work. So by now, gang, I'm hoping that you have heard about the San Pancho retreats in February 2026. If you've not, please have a look at my website, www.jefflichty.com, the events page. I really want you to consider coming. It'll be such a great time. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to reflect on yoga, to do some practices, but also get a respite from the winter and get over those February blahs and just launch into the new year. And I'm probably biased, but Zig is the best San Pancho host you could ever hope for, not to mention an amazing teacher. So you're in for a treat. All right, look it up and then reserve that spot for yourself. But let's move on because we're going to sort of circle back to the yamas because as Patanjali does, he lets us know that, I'm going to give you the list and then I'm going to talk about it some more. So that's the whole Patanjali thing. So let's move on because in chapter 2, verse 32, this is where he lists the niyamas. And so he's listed the 5 yamas, right? That's how are we dealing with others? How are we getting along with other people? That's really the yamas. And now he's moving on to the niyamas. And let me just list them out. We'll talk about them just a little bit, and then we'll push the rest of it forward to tomorrow. So here's the sutra, 2 verse 32. Śauca, santosha, tapas, svadhyaya, ishvara pranidhanani niyama. Ooh, yeah. I don't know why, gang. I still love the Sanskrit. There's something about it just makes me smile inside. So if you have been listening to the podcast or if you're a Yoga Sutra person, then you'll start to recognize, wow, we have, right at the start of chapter 2, hit on 3 of these topics already. The first 2 words in the sutras, not so much. The first 2 niyamas he lists we have not heard, but the last 3 definitely, they started with the very first verse in chapter 2. That's tapas, svadhyaya, ishvara pranidhana. And we used that in light of kriya yoga. Remember kriya yoga, that was the tapas, which is that discipline, self-study, which is svadhyaya, and then ishvara pranidhana, and that's that surrender or devotion to the, I still shudder with saying God, but the God principle or the reality. So what are the first 2? So the first 2 niyamas are śauca, which can mean cleanliness. Sometimes it's translated as purity. And also I read somewhere that it was occasionally translated as clarity. And of all of them, I actually like the translation clarity for śauca, but that's śauca. And then the second niyama is santosha. Now, santosha means contentment. You may have heard that. There's even a yoga studio in town where I'm in called Yoga Santosha. This is just another way that we as yogis in the West appropriate Sanskrit words and use them. But what a great way to do that. Yoga Santosha, contentment. So these are the niyamas, and that is really the list right there. And you know what? We're going to go through them more, but śauca, this idea of cleanliness or purity or clarity, śauca is the chief niyama. in the same way that ahimsa is the chief yama. So you can think about that overnight, and let's get back at it tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit more about the niyamas. All right, gang. As always, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you all. Om. Peace out.